The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Park Jisoo had ever seen. Even after 20 years of walking through its doors, she still felt small beneath the ceiling that stretched so high it disappeared into darkness. Light came from floating crystals that drifted like lazy clouds, casting soft shadows on the faces of 1,000 alien species. Jisoo stood at the human platform, a small circle of metal near the back of the hall. It was the smallest platform, placed far from the center where the elder races sat on thrones made of living stone. She had learned long ago not to feel hurt by this. Humanity was young. Humanity had to prove itself. That was what they always said. Today was the Centennial Review. Every 100 years, the council looked at what each species had done for the galaxy. Jisoo had prepared for this day for 5 years. She had gathered reports, numbers, and stories. She had documented every hospital humanity had built, every war they had helped end, every piece of technology they had shared freely with others. She believed, truly believed, that this would be the day humanity finally earned respect. The first 3 hours passed slowly. Elder species spoke of their ancient wisdom. Middle species talked about their trade networks. Young species, like humanity, were expected to listen and wait. Finally, the crystal above the human platform glowed. It was their turn. Jisoo stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear as she spoke into the translation field that carried her words to every ear in the hall. In the past century, humanity has built medical stations on 47 worlds. We have treated over 8 billion patients from 300 species, free of charge. Our doctors developed a cure for the withering plague that was killing the people of the Outer Rim. We asked for nothing in return. She paused, looking at the faces around her. Some were listening. Most were not. Our engineers helped build the Dyson Collector Array. 40% of the core worlds now receive power from a project that humanity designed and continues to operate. Our peacekeeping fleets patrol the dangerous trade routes of the Outer Rim. In the past 100 years, pirate attacks have decreased by 70% in areas we protect. Jisoo took a breath. We have given everything we can to this galaxy. We ask only to be recognized as equal partners in its future. She stepped back and waited. The silence that followed was heavy. Then Councillor Veth rose from their throne. Veth was tall, nearly 3 meters, with a body made of living crystal that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. They were beautiful in a cold way, like a winter morning that could freeze you to death. The Council has reviewed humanity's contributions, Veth said. Their voice was like wind chimes, pretty but without warmth. We acknowledge that humans have been active. Jisoo felt her heart beat faster. Active, not valuable. Not essential, active. However, Veth continued, the Council has concerns. Humanity is a volatile species. Your history is filled with war, with conflict, with emotional decisions that have led to destruction. You are too young to understand the patience required for true galactic citizenship. Jisoo's hands tightened at her sides, but her face remained calm. Therefore, the Council has voted. Humanity will be moved from junior member status to probationary observer status. You will retain limited access to Council resources, but you will no longer have voting rights or representation in Council decisions. The words hit Jisoo like a physical blow. Probationary observer. It was the lowest status possible. It was what they gave to species that had committed crimes. It was a punishment. Around the hall, she heard murmurs. Some species looked uncomfortable. Others looked pleased. Most looked like they did not care at all. Admiral Kim Do-won stood behind Jisoo. He was a large man with gray hair and a face that had seen too many battles. His hands were shaking, not with fear, but with anger. He leaned close to Jisoo and whispered, "Say the word. I will speak. I will tell them what we have sacrificed. Jisoo shook her head slowly. No, they cannot do this, Do-won said, his voice tight. After everything we have done, after all the lives we have saved, after all the blood we have spilled protecting their trade routes, they can, Jisoo said quietly. And they have. She looked at the council. At Councillor Veth, who stood there with no expression on their crystalline face. At the elder races, who had already turned their attention to other matters. At the hundreds of species who have benefited from humanity's work and were now watching humanity be humiliated without saying a single word in their defense. Jisoo had spent her whole life believing that if humanity just worked hard enough, gave enough, sacrificed enough, they would eventually be accepted. She had believed in the goodness of the galaxy. That belief died in this moment. She stepped forward one last time. The hall grew quiet, perhaps expecting her to argue, to beg, to show the emotional volatility they had accused humanity of having. Instead, Jisoo bowed. It was a deep bow, the kind her grandmother had taught her. A bow of respect given to someone you were leaving forever. The council has spoken, she said, her voice steady. Humanity accepts this decision. We will not argue. We will not fight. We will not beg for what we have already earned through our actions. She straightened and looked directly at Councillor Veth. We will trouble you no longer. Veth tilted their head, clearly confused by her response. You accept? You do not wish to appeal? No, Jisoo said. You have made your feelings clear. We understand now where we stand. We wish the council well in all its future decisions. She turned and walked toward the exit. Admiral Do-won followed, his face a mask of controlled fury. Behind them, Councillor Veth made a sound that might have been laughter. Let them go, they said to the other councillors. They will return when they realize how much they need us. Young species always do. The other councillors nodded in agreement. Humanity was emotional. Humanity would calm down. Humanity would come crawling back. They were wrong-dawed as Jisoo walked out of the Great Hall for the last time. She activated her communicator and sent a single message to Earth. Begin the withdrawal. All sectors. All stations. All ships. We are going home. The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. And humanity, for the first time in 200 years, began to pack their bags. 3 months passed after the Council's decision. The galaxy continued to spin. Trade ships flew their routes, and most species had already forgotten about humanity's demotion. It was a small matter, they thought. Humans were a small species. What difference could they make? On the medical world called Sanctuary Prime, Dr. Lee Mai-Ray was packing her office. She moved slowly, carefully placing her diplomas and photographs into a small box. Through her window, she could see the hospital she had helped build. It was the largest medical facility in the Outer Rim, with beds for 10,000 patients and equipment that could treat almost any disease known to the galaxy. Her assistant, a young alien with blue skin and 4 arms, stood in the doorway looking worried. Dr. Lee, I do not understand, they said. You are the head of surgery. You cannot simply leave. Mai-Ray smiled sadly. I can. I am. All of us are. But your patients, the ones who are sick, who will care for them? Mai-Ray picked up a data chip and handed it to her assistant. This contains everything. Every treatment method, every medicine formula, every surgical technique humanity has developed. It is yours now. Use it well. The assistant took the chip with trembling hands. This is centuries of knowledge. You are giving it to us? We are not taking it with us, Mai-Ray said. The knowledge belongs to everyone. Just because the Council does not want us, does not mean we want your people to suffer. She picked up her box and walked toward the door. At the threshold, She stopped and looked back at the hospital one more time. She had delivered babies here. She had held the hands of dying patients. She had worked 18-hour days to save lives that were not human. And now she was leaving. "Take care of them," she said softly. Then she walked away. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were happening everywhere. On the Dyson Collector Array, engineer Yoon Tae-ho was transferring control to the alien crew that would replace his team. The array was massive, a ring of metal and crystal that wrapped around a small star and collected its energy. Humanity had designed it. Humanity had built most of it. And now humanity was handing over the keys. "The efficiency will drop," Tae-ho warned the alien engineers. "Our systems are optimized for human operation. You will need to make adjustments." The lead alien engineer, a creature that looked like a walking tree, made a dismissive sound. "We are not children. We can operate a simple power station." Tae-ho did not argue. He had learned that arguing with species who thought they were superior was pointless. Instead, he simply nodded and handed over his access codes. "Good luck," he said. He meant it sincerely, even though they did not deserve his sincerity. In the outer rim, Captain Baek Sujin stood on the bridge of her ship, the Gentle Shield. For 30 years, she had protected trade routes from pirates. Her fleet of 12 ships had saved countless merchant vessels and escorted billions of credits worth of goods to safety. Her first officer, a young man named Wang Junho, stood beside her. "The merchants are panicking," Junho said. "They are asking why we are leaving. They say the pirates will return." "The pirates will return," Sujin agreed. "But that is no longer our concern." "It feels wrong," Junho said quietly. "We swore to protect these routes." Sujin turned to look at him. Her face was kind, but tired. "We swore to protect them because we believed we were part of this galaxy. We believed that our service would be valued. We were wrong. Now we go home. And the merchants? The innocent traders who will be attacked." Sujin was quiet for a long moment. "The council decided that humanity is too volatile, too emotional to be trusted. So we are removing our emotions from this decision. We are leaving calmly and quietly. If the galaxy suffers, it is not because we abandoned them. It is because the council pushed us away." She gave the order, and the Gentle Shield turned toward human space. The strange thing was how quiet the departure was. There were no protests, no angry speeches, no demands for justice. Humans simply packed their belongings, said polite goodbyes, and left. They handed over their knowledge freely. They transferred control of their stations without complaint. They wished everyone well, even those who had treated them badly. Some alien species noticed and felt uncomfortable. A merchant captain who had worked with humans for decades tried to stop Dr. Mireille as she boarded her transport. "Please," the captain said, "do not go. We need you." The council was wrong. Mireille patted his arm gently. "Then perhaps you should have said something when they were deciding our fate. Goodbye, friend. I hope we meet again someday." The captain watched her ship leave and felt a weight in his chest that he could not explain. "Counselor, Veth received reports of the withdrawal but dismissed them. Drama, they said. Humans are emotional creatures. They are making a show of their hurt feelings. In 6 months, they will realize they cannot survive without council resources, and they will come begging for readmission." The other counselors agreed. Young species were always like this, proud and foolish until reality taught them their place. But 6 months passed, and no humans came begging. A year passed, and the human border remained closed. Ships that approached were politely turned away. Messages requesting assistance were received, acknowledged, and left unanswered. The galaxy began to realize that this was not drama. This was goodbye. And slowly, painfully, the galaxy began to understand what it had lost. The silence of humanity's departure was louder than any war cry could ever be. It echoed through empty hospitals, through unstaffed power stations, through unprotected trade routes. It was a silence that asked a single question. Did you truly think we were nothing? The answer, the galaxy was learning, was yes, and they were wrong. 1 year after humanity left, the first plague came. It started on a small world in the Mid-Rim, a planet where farmers grew food for a dozen nearby systems. The disease spread fast, killing the young and the old first, then coming for everyone else. Within 3 weeks, 10 million beings were dead. The local government sent a desperate request to the council. We need doctors. We need medicine. We need help. The council sent what doctors they could find. But the best doctors in the galaxy had been human. The medical stations humanity had built were still standing. But the alien staff who now ran them did not have the same skills, the same knowledge, the same instinct for saving lives. The plague spread to 3 more worlds before they found a treatment. By then, 200 million beings were dead. On the 5th world to be infected, a young alien child lay dying in a hospital bed. Her mother held her hand and wept. Where are the human doctors? The mother asked. They always came before. They always helped. The nurse looked away. The humans are gone. They are not coming back. The child died that night. Her mother's screams echoed through the hospital halls. Far away, on a quiet human colony world, Han Yunji was planting vegetables in her garden. She had been a translator once, speaking 15 alien languages, helping species understand each other. Now she grew tomatoes and beans and spent her evenings reading old books. Her communicator buzzed. It was a message from the border stations, forwarded to all human citizens as a matter of record. The council had sent another request for humanitarian aid. Yunji read the message. She saw the death counts, the desperate pleas, the promises that things would be different this time. She turned off her communicator and went back to her garden. It was not that she did not care. She cared deeply. The thought of children dying made her heart hurt. But she remembered standing in the gallery of the council hall, watching Councillor Veth call her species volatile and dangerous. She remembered the silence of 1,000 alien representatives who said nothing in humanity's defense. They had made their choice. Now they had to live with it. On the Dyson Collector Array, things were falling apart. The alien engineers had been confident when they took over. How hard could it be to run a power station? But the array was not a simple machine. It was a complex system of millions of parts, all designed to work together in ways that only the humans who built it truly understood. Efficiency dropped to 60% within 6 months. By the end of the first year, it was down to 45%. Rolling blackouts began on the core worlds that depended on the array's power. Engineer Yun Taiho received a personal message from the lead alien engineer, the tree-like creature who had dismissed his warnings. "We need your help," the message said. "Please, our people are suffering." Taiho read the message several times. He thought about all the times he had offered suggestions and been ignored. All the times he had been told that humans did not understand truly advanced technology. All the times he had swallowed his pride because humanity needed to prove itself. He did not respond. In the Outer Rim, the pirates returned. Without Captain Beak Sujin and her fleet, the trade routes became hunting grounds. Merchant ships were attacked daily. Cargo was stolen. Crews were killed or sold into slavery. The price of food tripled in systems that depended on trade. Then it tripled again. Beings who had never known hunger began to starve. Councillor Veth called an emergency meeting of the council. For the first time, they looked worried. "The situation is becoming serious," Veth admitted. "Perhaps we should reach out to the humans. Ask them to return, temporarily, until we can stabilize the situation." An ambassador from a mid-rim species stood up. We already have. Multiple times. They do not respond. Send more messages. Send gifts. Send whatever they want. We have, the ambassador said. Their border stations receive our communications. They acknowledge receipt. And then nothing. Silence. Veth's crystalline body flickered with frustration. This is childish. This is exactly the emotional behavior we warned about. A quiet voice spoke from the back of the hall. It belonged to Elder Mothra, an ancient being who had lived for thousands of years. Their body was like a moth, the size of a horse, with wings that shimmered with colors that had no names. Is it emotional? Mothra asked. Or is it exactly what we asked for? Veth turned to face the elder. What do you mean? We told humanity they were too emotional, too volatile. We told them they lacked the temperament for galactic citizenship. So they left, quietly, without argument, without anger. They did exactly what a calm, rational species would do when told they were not wanted. Mothra's wings rustled softly. And now we are angry that they are not being emotional enough to come back and save us. The council chamber fell silent. On the human colony world, retired diplomat Oh Jungwoo sat on his porch and watched the sun set. His communicator was full of messages from alien ambassadors he had once called friends. They begged him to use his influence to convince the human government to re-engage with the galaxy. His granddaughter, a girl of 12 named Onari, sat beside him. Grandfather, she said, why don't we help them? Isn't that what humans are supposed to do? Jungwoo was quiet for a long moment. We helped them for 200 years. We gave them our knowledge, our medicine, our protection. And they told us we were not good enough. They told us we were dangerous. But people are dying. Yes, and that is sad. But it is not our responsibility anymore. They chose to push us away. Now they must learn to live without us. Nari looked troubled. That seems cruel. Jungwoo smiled sadly. No, child. Cruel would be going back and letting them treat us badly again. Cruel would be teaching you that your worth depends on how much you sacrifice for people who do not respect you. He put his arm around her. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the results of their choices. Maybe they will learn. Maybe they will not. But either way, it is not our burden to carry anymore. The sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Across the galaxy, beings looked up at their own skies and wondered if the humans were watching the same stars. They wondered if the humans missed them. The answer was yes. But sometimes, love is not enough. Sometimes, you have to love yourself first. And humanity, for the first time in 200 years, was finally learning to do that. 5 years had passed since humanity left. The galaxy was a different place now. Counselor Veth stood at the window of their private chamber, looking out at the city below. Once it had been bright with lights at all hours. Now, half the buildings were dark. Energy rationing had become a way of life. The people who walked the streets moved quickly, heads down, afraid of the growing crime that the understaffed security forces could not control. 3 species had formally withdrawn from the council. They blamed the elder races for driving away humanity. They said the council was corrupt, arrogant, and blind. They were not wrong. Veth's body, once bright and beautiful, had grown dull. Stress did that to their kind. The crystal that formed their flesh lost its shine when the mind inside was troubled. A knock came at the door. Elder Mothra entered, their great wings folded against their back. You summoned me, Mothra said. Veth did not turn from the window. I have made a decision. I will go to the human border personally. I will ask for an audience with their leaders. Mothra was silent for a moment. You know what this means. You will have to admit that you were wrong. I know. You will have to beg. Veth finally turned. Their crystalline face could not show expression the way flesh could, but something in their posture looked broken. I know, they said again. But what choice do we have? The galaxy is falling apart. If I must humble myself to save our people, I will do it. Mothra nodded slowly. Then I will come with you. Perhaps my age will add weight to our request. The journey to the human border took 2 weeks. Veth's ship was not the grand vessel of a counselor, but a simple transport. They had decided that arriving in luxury would send the wrong message. At the border, they were met by a small station staffed by humans in simple uniforms. A young man with a calm face spoke to them through a communication screen. Counselor Veth, Elder Mothra, your arrival has been noted. What is the purpose of your visit? Veth leaned forward. We request an audience with your government. We wish to discuss the possibility of renewed relations between humanity and the Council. The young man nodded. Your request has been logged. Please wait. How long? You will be informed when a decision has been made. The communication ended. Veth and Mothra looked at each other. They waited. Days passed. Then weeks. Then months. Veth sent messages asking for updates. Each time, the response was the same. Your request is being considered. Please continue to wait. After 3 months, Veth began to understand. This was how it had felt to be human. To wait and wait for recognition that never came. To be told that your concerns were being considered while nothing happened. It was a lesson taught without words. After 6 months, the message finally came. Ambassador Cho Yuna will receive you tomorrow at Station 14. Veth prepared carefully. They practiced what they would say. They rehearsed apologies and explanations. Mothra told them not to make excuses, just to speak honestly. Station 14 was a small outpost, nothing special. The meeting room was plain, with simple furniture and no decorations. Ambassador Cho Yuna was already there when they arrived. She was a young woman, no more than 35, with short black hair and a face that gave nothing away. Please sit, Yuna said. Her voice was polite, but not warm. Veth sat. Mothra settled their large body onto a special platform that had been prepared for them. Ambassador Cho, Veth began. I want to thank you for seeing us. I know that humanity has every reason to refuse. Yuna nodded but said nothing. I have come to admit that the Council made a mistake. A terrible mistake. We judged humanity unfairly. We ignored your contributions. We punished you for qualities that we should have valued. Veth's voice trembled slightly. We were arrogant and blind, and we have paid a heavy price for it. Yes, Yuna said simply. You have. I am asking, no, I am begging for humanity to return. The galaxy needs you. Our people are suffering. Our systems are failing. We cannot do this without you. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thoughtful. Counselor Veth, do you remember what you said about humanity at the Centennial Review? Veth looked down. I said you were volatile, emotional, that you lacked the temperament for galactic citizenship. Yes, and do you know what humanity did in response? You left. We left quietly, Yuna corrected. We did not scream. We did not fight. We did not threaten or attack. We simply accepted your decision and removed ourselves from the equation. Is that not what a calm, rational species would do? Veth had no answer. You told us our emotions were a weakness. So we stopped letting our emotions guide us. We stopped rushing to help every time someone was in pain. We stopped sacrificing ourselves for species that did not respect us. Yuna leaned forward. And now you come to us, full of emotion, begging us to return. Do you see the contradiction? Mothra spoke for the first time. We see it, Ambassador. We see our own foolishness clearly now. We mistook your passion for instability. We mistook your compassion for naivety. We were wrong. Yuna turned to the elder. Why did you never speak up? You are ancient. You have wisdom. Why did you let the council make this mistake? Mothra's wings drooped. Because I was a coward. I saw what was happening, and I said nothing because speaking up would have been uncomfortable. I am ashamed. The room was silent. Finally, Yuna stood. I cannot promise anything. The decision to re-engage with the galaxy is not mine to make. It belongs to our government and our people. We understand, Beth said. But I will tell them what you have said. I will tell them that you came here in humility, that you admitted your mistakes, that you asked for forgiveness. Yuna walked to the door, then paused and looked back. I do not know if it will be enough. Humanity has learned to live without the galaxy. We have built our own networks, our own alliances, our own future. We do not need you anymore. Veth's crystal body dimmed further. Then, why would you ever return? Yuna was quiet for a moment. Because that is who we are. Not because we need you, but because we believe the galaxy is better when we work together. Whether we can forgive what was done to us. That is the question. She left the room, and Veth and Mothra were alone with their regrets. The journey home was silent. Veth stared out the window at the stars and wondered if this was how humanity had felt. Returning from the council 5 years ago, rejected, alone, uncertain of the future. It was a hard lesson. But perhaps, Veth, it was one they needed to learn. 10 years after humanity left, the Galactic Council was dead. It had not ended with a war or revolution. It had simply faded away, like a fire that had run out of fuel. Species stopped attending meetings. Votes were ignored. The great hall where Park Jisoo had once stood was empty now, dust collecting on the platforms where representatives had once argued about the fate of civilizations. In its place, something new had grown. They called it the Coalition of Equals. It was built on different rules, rules that had been written with humanity's absence in mind. Every species had the same voice. No one was called young or old, advanced or primitive. Contribution was measured not by age, but by action. But the Coalition's first formal act was to send an invitation to humanity. Not as a junior member or a probationary observer, but as a founding partner with full and equal status. The invitation arrived on the desk of President Kang Se-won on a quiet Tuesday morning. Siwon was a tall man in his 60s with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been a child when humanity left the council. He had grown up in a galaxy that did not want his people. Now he had to decide whether to return to a galaxy that was begging for them. He called Park Jisoo to his office. She was old now, in her 80s, but her mind was still sharp. She walked slowly with a cane, but her eyes were the same eyes that had faced down Counselor Veth all those years ago. You know why I asked you here? Se-won said. Jisoo sat down carefully. The invitation. Yes. Se-won slid the document across his desk. They want us back. Full partnership. Equal status. Everything we asked for and never received. Jisoo read the invitation slowly. Her face showed nothing. What do you think? Se-won asked. I think they are desperate, Jisoo said. And I think desperation makes people say things they do not mean. You do not trust them. I do not know if I can. I spent my life believing that if we just worked hard enough, gave enough, sacrificed enough, they would accept us. I was wrong. She looked up at Se-won. But that does not mean we should refuse. Why not? We have built a good life here. Our own alliances, our own trade networks, our own future. We do not need them. No, we do not need them, Jisoo agreed. But that is not the question. The question is, what kind of species do we want to be? Se-won leaned back in his chair. Explain. When the council rejected us, we had a choice. We could have fought. We could have screamed and raged and made them pay for their cruelty. Instead, we left quietly. We chose dignity over revenge. Jisu's voice was soft but firm. Now we have another choice. We can stay isolated, safe, protected from a galaxy that hurt us. Or we can go back out there and try again, and get hurt again. Perhaps. Or perhaps we can help build something better. The old council is gone. This new coalition was created by species who saw what happened to us and decided it should never happen again. They learned. The question is whether we can forgive. Siwan was quiet for a long time. Outside his window, children were playing in a park. They had never known the galaxy beyond human space. They had grown up being told that the galaxy was a place that did not want them. If we go back, he said slowly, what message does that send? That they can treat us badly and we will always come running when they need us? No, Jisu shook her head. If we go back on our terms with our dignity intact, it sends a different message. It says that humanity is strong enough to forgive, wise enough to try again, and brave enough to hope for better. The vote happened 3 months later. Every human citizen over the age of 18 was given a choice. Return to the galaxy or remain isolated. The result was close. 52% voted to return. 48% voted to stay home, that it was not a landslide. It was not a unanimous decision, but it was enough. The first human ships to cross the border in 10 years were met by crowds. Aliens of every species lined the docking bays just to see humans again. Some were crying. Some were cheering. Some simply stood in silence, overwhelmed by a moment they had feared would never come. Dr. Lee Myray, now gray-haired and retired, was on one of those ships. She had not planned to return to medicine, but when she saw the faces waiting for her, faces full of hope and relief and gratitude, she felt something shift in her heart. Maybe one more year, she thought. Maybe I can help a little longer. Captain Beek Sujin brought her fleet back to the outer rim. The pirates had grown bold in her absence, but they fled when they saw the gentle shield's familiar silhouette. Within a month, the trade routes were safe again. Engineer Yoon Taiho returned to the Dyson array. The alien engineers who now ran it greeted him with something that looked like shame. We tried, they said. We truly tried. Taiho patted one of them on what he hoped was a shoulder. I know. Let me help. The formal ceremony was held on a neutral station, far from the ruins of the old council hall. Representatives from 100 species gathered to witness humanity's return. Ambassador Cho Yuna stood at the podium. She was older now, with lines around her eyes, but her voice was strong. 10 years ago, humanity was told that we were too emotional, too volatile, too young to be trusted with galactic citizenship. We were punished for the very qualities that made us who we are, our passion, our compassion, our drive to help others, even when it cost us everything. She paused, looking out at the crowd. We did not leave to punish you. We left because we were tired. Tired of giving everything and being told it was not enough. Tired of saving lives and being called dangerous. Tired of building bridges and being told we were not worthy to cross them. Silence filled the room. We return now, not because we need you. We have proven we can survive alone. We return because we believe the galaxy is better when we work together. We return because you asked, and asking took courage. We return because forgiveness is not weakness, it is the hardest kind of strength. Yuna's voice hardened slightly. But hear me clearly. This is not a return to the old ways. We will not be treated as lesser. We will not be ignored or dismissed. If we are pushed away again, we will leave again. And next time, we may not come back. She let those words hang in the air. Do not make us regret this trust. The galaxy answered with silence. Not the cold silence of dismissal, But the heavy silence of a lesson finally learned. Later that night, old President Park Ji-soo sat alone in her quarters, watching the stars through her window. She had not spoken at the ceremony. She had simply sat in the audience, one old woman among thousands, watching humanity take its place in the galaxy once more. A young aide knocked on her door. "President Park? The celebrations are starting. Will you join us?" Ji-soo smiled. In a moment, she looked up at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, beings were going to sleep tonight, knowing the human doctors would be there if they got sick. Human engineers would keep the lights on. Human ships would keep the trade routes safe. Humanity had returned. Not as servants or saviors, but as equals. It had taken 10 years, countless deaths, and the collapse of an ancient institution. But finally, the galaxy understood what it had lost, and they would never forget again.